Hello everybody, I'm Adrien, I'm from IHP, and I will make the first talk for this new museum's panorama session. Then it will be Tracy Drinkwater from Seattle Math Museum that we talk, and then we will have an online talk of Ozan Oğuz, who is very sorry he couldn't attend the conference because of passport issues, so we decided to offer him the possibility of an online talk as he wasn't able to be there. I also say that all the conferences will be recorded, and in, I think, around 2 weeks, they will be posted online on the IHP YouTube page, so you can see the conference again in 2 weeks if you want. So, for the first talk of this conference, I will present you the Holo-Math project, which is part of the Maison Poincaré project, House Poincaré, which is a new museum that will open in Paris next year in spring. So you already have seen it because when you entered the IHP building, I think you have seen a building that is in works, which is just on the other side here. It's the gray building. We are in the red building, and so the gray building, it's the new building of IHP. It's also an old building from the 1920s, and it has been given back to IHP in a few years, and in this there will be the Maison Poincaré, which is a museum where we will have 900 square meters for math outreach activities and math outreach exhibitions. We hope to welcome up to 20,000 scholars per year, scholars from 13 years old, and also students, adults, families. We hope to create a unique place to bring together research, education, and society. The Maison Poincaré will be put inside the IHP, which is a research center, so we really want to connect people from all the society to mathematics and to research in making. So there will be a museum, but there will also be a new conference center in the building in order to make the IHP research activities bigger and more places to welcome conferences as Matrix Imaginary conferences and a lot of other conferences. This museum will be composed of a permanent exhibition with 7 spaces. All of these spaces have the name of a verb, of an action verb. So connect, model, become, share, invent, visualize, and breathe. Breathe is the garden, of course. And we will also have 200 square meters for temporary exhibition. We will have a room for workshops. We will have a cultural programmation of events, film clubs, meetings, conferences, meetings with researchers, and also a program of lifelong training for teachers, and also for science communicators, science outreach people. So you will learn a lot of things about Maison Poincaré on Friday, because Sylvie Benzoni, director of IHP, will give a talk about Maison Poincaré on Friday, just before the closing session at 5:15, I think. So she's very sorry she can't be here today, but from tomorrow morning she will be here, and you can ask her if you have questions about Maison Poincaré, or me, or Elodie, that you just seen. And today I will make a presentation about Holo-Math, which is a mixed reality experience, which will be in the visualize space. And I'm sure that you all have one question, which is, what is mixed reality? Well, maybe you have heard about augmented reality, virtual reality, now mixed reality. So what are these things, and how can we use this technology for science outreach? So this is some of the devices that we use for augmented, mixed, and virtual reality. I think you all recognize one of them, which is a smartphone. Then, do you know the names of the other devices? So it's a question for you. Does somebody wants to give it a try? Yes, Tracy? Yes, so which one? Yeah, the white one in the bottom is the Oculus. It's not just Oculus, it's Oculus Go. Because there's another Oculus in this. It's the one that is up, the black one up is Oculus Rift. It's not the same as Oculus Go, it's not the same technology. Do you know the name of the device between the two Oculus? It's a HTC Vive. And then On the up right, it's, yes, HoloLens. Good job. So there's a lot of devices. They are more or less heavy, invasive, more or less expensive, more or less immersive too. And it's hard to say this is virtual reality, this is augmented reality, this is mixed reality. It's more of a continuum of technologies. So first, we'll start with augmented reality. So there's a transparency effect, which indicates you that the smartphone is the main device for augmented reality, and also the HoloLens. The augmented reality, the objective is to superimpose digital information on elements of the real world, but only with a screen. You have to film the reality and add things on the film. It's, of the three technology, it's the most common, the one that needs the least material, so it's the least expensive. I'm not saying it's cheap, but it's the least expensive of the three. And if I give you some example of projects of science outreach with this technology, there is one experience in the Nature History Museum. So the museum that we will go tomorrow, unfortunately, I'm not sure we will see the augmented reality exhibition. I don't think it will be open because the museum is open just for us. So I'm not sure it will be available, but if you come another time in Paris, you might see the Reborn, Revivre exhibition, which allows you to see disappeared animals in augmented reality in the gallery of disappeared animals in the museum. And another example is an augmented model of the Mont Saint-Michel, so one of the most famous places in France. It was displayed in the Museum of Plan Relief. I have no idea of how to translate that in English, I'm sorry, in Paris. And it has also been presented in Seattle in the Mohai Museum of History and Industry. It's not exhaustive. There's a lot of other examples of science in augmented reality, of course. So augmented reality needs the least material. It's not too invasive. You don't have immersive discomforts. We will talk more about that for virtual reality. And well, I said it's the cheapest, but maybe it's not the main benefit. But the limitations is that it's not very interactive. There's no connection between participants. And with that, it's difficult for a museum to have something embodied. You can't insert an explainer from the museum in your experience to make something more human. So now we will see what is virtual reality, which is a technology that completely immerses you in a fully digital world. So you are totally disconnected from reality, but you have a heavy and invasive material. So the devices for virtual reality are the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive. And Oculus Go is a bit different. We will see that just after. Example of projects. So it's the same thematic. It's about the pyramids. So with these two projects, you can go inside the pyramids of Cheops. One has been presented in the Architecture and Patrimonia Museum in Paris, and the other one in the Institut of Arabic World, also in Paris. There's a little you can see in the image on the left, because the problem of virtual reality helmets is that you always have to be connected with a computer. So if you want to move, you are limited by the length of a cable. And the trick for this experience, for the two experiences, is that they give you a backpack, which is your explorer backpack, because you go to the Cheops pyramid. And in the backpack, which is quite heavy, there is the computer. So this is one of the limitations of virtual reality. It's that the material is very invasive and you have movement restrictions. You also have a possibility of immersive discomfort, which is problem of, well, vomiting, because you're not feeling good in the device, because you're fully immersed, and you don't have any direct visual connection between participants, because you can't see yourself in the reality, so you can see avatar of the other participants, but it's not the same. The benefits, of course, is that you're really fully immersed, and it's very strongly interactive. There's a little exception with Oculus Go, which is more, so this is not an official term, I call that light virtual reality, which means it's not exactly the same. You are not, with Oculus Go, you are not connected to a computer. You don't have a cable, so you are free in your movements, but you have a big loss of interactivity because you don't have a full joystick, you just have a clicker, so it allows you less things to do. And it's interesting because this is a blurred line between what is virtual reality and what is just 360 degrees video. It has been used for science outreach projects, a math project, which I think is still in crowdfunding. It's a European project of mathematics in virtual reality with Oculus Go. This is a screenshot from a promotional video that has been filmed in Croatia. So the aim is to bring virtual reality mathematics to schools, directly in schools, thanks to the Oculus Go helmets. And as I said, so the limitation of this technology is that it's not very interactive. There's still the problem of immersive discomfort, and you still don't see the other participants. So all of this leads us to mixed reality, which is I think the least famous of these three technologies. It's kind of a semi-immersion. So the technology immerses users in 3D representations that are added to reality. It's like if you had glasses and you see the reality and you also see holograms added to the reality. And you can interact with the holograms without any device, without any joystick, but directly with your hands. It recognizes the movements of your hands. Some of the examples of mixed reality projects in museums, there's an escape game room in the Frida and Friend Children Museum in Graz in Austria, where it has been, where mixed reality has been used. And there is something in Institut Henri Poincaré, in Maison Poincaré, which I will talk a bit more about, which is Holo-Math. So the benefits of it is that it's not an invasive material. You are free with your movements. You have direct interactivity. You don't have any immersive discomfort because you still see the reality. So you won't have any problems with being not good and maybe feeling sick in the mixed reality helmet. And you have visual connections between the participants, which is good because when you go to a museum, you don't want to be alone in your world. So it's good to see the other participants and to see somebody, which I will call the explainer, which can be from the museum, somebody that guides the experience with the participants. The limitations is that this technology is more recent than augmented reality and virtual reality, so it's more expensive. It's harder to develop projects in mixed reality, and so that leads me to Holo-Math project. So as Andreas said, the idea was created in 2016 as part of the Berlin Imaginary Conference. So it has been 6 years ago, and it's almost finished now, so you see it needs a lot of time. Holo-Math would be an experience in mixed reality, full duration of 45 minutes, but including only 30 minutes in mixed reality. It's a collective experience, groups of 12 participants, and it will be part of a museum tour, meaning that people won't go in Maison Poincaré just for the Holo-Math experience, but they will have to make a logical tour in the different spaces, including visualize, so the Holo-Math experience. It's always driven by an explainer. You can't do it alone. You have to book a slot to make the experience. And it will be accessible for schoolers from 13 years old, and then to, of course, students and adults. The objectives that we try to have with this experience is to overcome the difficulties that schoolers, students have with mathematics by showing concepts differently, thanks to mixed reality. Our idea is that all that is in the holograms, in the helmets, in the mixed reality, it's not, well, you won't see directly mathematics in it, but it's inspired by mathematics. And then the things that explains the explainer will be the main content. So you see, and what you see is not, if you're afraid of mathematics, well, you won't be afraid of what you see, and you will just have to immerse yourself and listen, and you will learn things. Our objective is to have a technological experience while leaving human central in the experience. You don't go to a museum alone. You want to meet the other participants. You want to meet people from the museum. So with mixed reality, you can be together with the other participants and with an explainer. And finally, it's also a way of positioning the House Poincaré, the Maison Poincaré, in a space where we try to innovate in science outreach. So as I said, it began the project in 2016, then 2017, 2018 was dedicated to a first pilot experience and beginning of user test and writing of the scripts for the first episode. Then the first episode have been developed until 2022, now it's finished. And we began to work on the second episode, which we just finished to write the script, and we will start the development of the second episode when the Maison Poincaré will be open. So for the opening, we will just have one episode, and then we will have other episodes after running the Maison Poincaré. And what is it about? So the first episode is about Brownian motion. You see some images of the experience. Well, you don't see everything of the experience because I want you to come back in Paris if you can when Maison Poincaré will be open and to see you directly in HoloLens helmets what will be in this experience. But this gives you an idea of what it is. It's in a garden. There is a zoom thing that brings you to a flower, then a bee arrives and, well, how to say that, gathered. When you gather pollen, I don't know if it's just a verb in English, by leaving the flower, a lot of pollen grains fly, and we observe the movement of these pollen grains. And so that's a way to discover Brownian motion, also random walk. And then the second part of the experience makes the link between what we observe with the pollen grain and the Galton board. And then we will have a second episode, which is about artificial intelligence. The script writing is still in progress. Well, we finished to write the first version, but when we will develop the thing on the Holo-Math, HoloLens devices, maybe we will have changes to do. So that's why I wrote script writing in progress. Our idea is to use mixed reality to get inside AI, to dissect how it works mathematically, informatically. And we want to show especially perception algorithm and artificial neural networks. If you want to go further, some articles that we have written about Holo-Math and more globally mathematics and mixed reality. I'm sorry, but the three first ones are in French. So, but there's nice images. And then you have the Holo-Math website and the Maison Poincaré website, which are both in French and in English if you want more information. So thank you for your attention. And if you have questions, I will be happy to answer them. Now I think we have a bit of time before Tracy's talk. To explain geometry? Yeah, we have thought about it. Maybe for episode 3, we were thinking about something with dance and dancing geometry. I don't know if it's a good word for that, but we would like to, because you are in mixed reality, you still see your body and body of the other. So we thought about something that can be moving to creating shapes that could be drawn in mixed reality. And this could be used to explain geometry. I don't know if it answers your question. Yeah, Rémi Coulon, so he's a French researcher from Rennes, and he had made, so it's virtual reality for his experience, and he made it to observe mathematical geometrical objects, so 3D and 4D, I think, yeah, 3D. And yeah, this is something that could inspire, but could also be done in mixed reality differently, but it could be done. The choice of Brownian motion, it's linked with the history of the building. So as I said, the IHP has been founded in 1928 by Émile Borel, which is a French mathematician. And the other building, the gray one, was founded as a physics and chemistry building by Jean Perrin, which is a French physicist. And Jean Perrin used Brownian motion to make the first experimental proof of the existence of atoms. It wasn't in this building, it was in another university in the south of Paris. But as he worked there and as with these works he had the Nobel Prize of Physics in 1926. We wanted to have a content which is linked with the history of the building. We will talk about Jean in this building in other rooms of the museum, because we have the former office of Jean just next to the Holo-Math room. So that's why we chose this subject. Also because it's in the French school programs, it's never mentioned. You have to go far in the university to heard about Brownian motion, whereas it's not that complicated just to learn what it is and to observe it. So we thought it was a good subject to that nobody will know, but it's easy to explain. And also it's very interdisciplinary because it's math and physics, but can also be linked with biology. So we found it as a good subject. To give you an example, between the part when we observe the movement of the pollen grain and between the part when we are in a hive to observe a Galton board, there is a little game in between to make a pause also for the students and scholar participants. And this game will be, you are in the hive and there is hornets, so big bees arriving, and you have to, I don't remember the English name, something to throw balls, which is slingshots, maybe. Thank you. And you have a slingshot to make the hornet afraid and leave the hive, because if they leave with the pollen grains, well, it's not good. So you have to shot them. If you shot them, because they have pollen grains in their legs. I don't think we say legs for the hornet, but and so you shoot them. You got back the pollen grains that are balls, and then it's these balls that will go to the Galton board. So we try to integrate a game thing between the two scientific parts and the interaction. So it will be directly with your hands, and you will really make this movement, so like a real slingshot. IHP is already identified for math teachers in France and some of them abroad. One thing, it's not a overall answer, but one thing that we thought is important is to have lifelong training programs for teachers in the museum. So with that, we will be in partnership with the National Education Ministry in order to create a lot of programs of lifelong trainings. And with that, teachers will learn about Maison Poincaré, and we hope that they will go back with their students after. It's not the only way to make the museum known, because there's a lot of other ones, and we are still not opened yet. So we are planning, and Elodie Chéreau is planning a very big communication plan for the opening of Maison Poincaré. So I think you will all learn a lot of things, and you will hear a lot about Maison Poincaré in 2023. Not now, but as we will open in spring, I think by the beginning of 2023, we will make a lot of publicity. We won't do that for the Brownian motion episode, but we want to have this skill for the artificial intelligence episode. Part of the scenario will be about perceptron algorithm, and we want to use this to make explanations about coordinates, dimensions, and how things work in 2D, then in 3D, and then we won't show, of course, the other dimensions, but just try to make students think, how could it be in 4D for the perceptron algorithm? So I think Andreas remembers too that in the first Holo-Math website, when we created it, we put a time plan of a project on the website, and of course we were never able to catch it, so we just removed the time plan because it was just too too hard to. Well, I think the first time plan was when we were finishing the first episode in 2019, the second one in 2021, opening Maison Poincaré at the same time, and then have 3 other episodes in 2023. Well, this was impossible, of course. Yeah, and maybe I should mention that IHP has 2 partners, companies, for the development of the experience. So one of them is Busterwood, which is a design studio, which is in Paris, and the other one is Holoforge, which is a part of Asobo Studio, which is one of the main French video games studios. It's not Ubisoft, but it's also very big. And Asobo Studio has a branch which is Holo-Forge, which is expert for mixed reality. So the room is quite big, and we won't have a lot of things, I mean real things, concrete things inside. We will have a shape that is like a mirror, and it will be like the entrance of the mixed reality room. And we will have patterns on the walls. This is necessary for the device to orientate himself. But beside of that, we won't have any furniture in the room, so that's why it can be run for several experiences. In 2023, we won't have choice because there will be just one episode at the beginning, and I won't give a date for the second episode because, as you know, we never can catch up the time plans. So thank you very much for all your questions. If you have some other questions, I will be happy to answer it during the 3 days of the conference. And now you can give a warm welcome to Tracy Drinkwater. So Tracy is coming from Seattle, from the Seattle Math Museum, and I think you already have your
I have a microphone
yeah.
ready. Hi, I'm Tracy Drinkwater, and I'm the founder, president, and acting executive director of Seattle Universal Math Museum. And I founded this organization in 2019. I first thought of it as a middle school math teacher around 2013, 2014, and thought there should really be a math museum where I could bring my students on field trips and help them learn in a hands-on way that I don't have the time or the other resources to create. And I discovered MoMath at that time. And in 2015, I visited MoMath and met with Cindy Lawrence and Glenn Whitney and got inspired and dreamt about it for a few more years before starting the organization in 2019. So Seattle Universal Math Museum, our nickname is SUM, and yes, that was an intentional math pun, is launching the first math museum on the West Coast of the United States to foster positive connections to math, boost math confidence, and help students see math as relevant to their future. Our equitable and culturally relevant STEAM opportunities will reduce the equity gap in math education, strengthen the pipeline of women and people of color in pursuing STEAM careers, and better prepare youth to thrive in the digital economy of the 21st century. One of our goals is to help local youth develop the confidence and skills needed to take advantage of the many math-based jobs in the Seattle region and the Pacific Northwest. So our updates, since some of you may have seen my talk in September in the online conference or know a little bit about us, we are going to be an exciting new addition to the region's network of existing educational and cultural destinations. Many of you know about Seattle. It's a very dynamic city and region of the US. We're going to be focusing on STEAM in ways not replicated in any West Coast institution or inside the classroom. Math will come to life through hands-on, play-based experiences and programs, integration with arts, culture, and other disciplines, indoor and outdoor galleries featuring world-class traveling and permanent exhibitions, and engaging play areas. Children and their families will discover the math in their own bodies and in art, music, culture, nature, and the universe. While any student can grow discouraged in math, Black and Indigenous people of color, or BIPOC, students face far more profound barriers to success than their white counterparts. Opportunity gaps in math and science education and underrepresentation in STEAM careers are caused by a combination of factors: fewer visible role models, lower expectations in high school math classes, lack of access to advanced math courses necessary for college readiness, and fewer opportunities for tutoring and other math enrichment activities. Despite increasing rates in higher educational achievement, girls and BIPOC students continue to be disproportionately lacking in STEM fields, both in the degree completion and in workforce representation. And these are some of the renderings that we had done in some of our recent concept design work. Everyone will take something away from SUM. Students will gain an understanding of how math connects to other subjects and future careers, enhancing the skills they need to excel in the rigor of school. Teachers will discover an engaging space for their students to find joy in math and be inspired with new activities and approaches. Parents will learn ways to support their children while also finding opportunities to enhance their own math abilities through speakers, seminars, and workshops on financial literacy and other topics. So we already have a math problem of low achievement based on results of standardized math tests in Washington State. And then the pandemic came and caused some grave learning setbacks. So we did testing in 2019 and 2021, and the results are shown in these circle graphs. The achievement rates fell from 58% of third graders meeting standards, coming down to 39% of third graders meeting standards. And for 10th graders, it was an even darker picture with achievement at only 40% of our students meeting standards, down to 24%. If we realized one thing from the pandemic and remote learning, it's that many children need to learn math in person, in a community, and that hands-on learning and social interaction are crucial to many students' depth of understanding of mathematical concepts. So what can we do without a building yet? Because we don't have a building yet. Some will collaborate with parents, teachers, school district leaders, and nonprofit partners to create equitable and culturally relevant programs and events focusing on math content from 8 to 14 years old. So that's 3rd to 8th grade in the United States. Programming delivered in schools and community spaces across Washington State will enhance core curriculum at little or no cost to communities in need. So we're continuing to explore the needs of our local students, and along with teachers and families, identifying communities that could benefit most from our math programming. From these insights, we've been developing a business plan and museum concept design. We piloted early community programming, including a math-inspired art exhibit, an origami workshop for teachers to learn some professional development about using the art of origami in their teaching. And here are some additional programs we have recently accomplished or will be offering this year. I'll go into a little more detail on those. In March, we hosted an event called Math Path to New Adventures in partnership with the University of Washington's Foster School of Business. We hosted this career event for a group of middle schoolers and their parents to hear from a panel of 4 local professionals, including a Microsoft HR manager, a University of Washington business professor, a Boeing rocket scientist, and a Google engineer. The speakers shared about how they experienced learning math growing up and how they now use it in their various careers and personal lives. The interactive session helped middle schoolers view their math education with new insights. One of our partners is an organization called Xenomath, which focuses on math enrichment activities for preschoolers, particularly those of color. SUM's involvement in Xeno's Math Fest was a fun-filled experience for all. We brought engaging math toys for kids to play, explore, and experience math in 3D. Some learners immersed themselves in various activities related to building and learning about relationships between numbers and developing spatial awareness. Rona Gerkowitz, our resident origami expert, helped families engage in the mathematical art of origami. Parents and children together discovered our giant soma cubes and collaboratively built geometric shapes. This summer, we partnered with a Jewish community center to bring enrichment math classes for kids ages 5 to 11 years old. We offered various 90-minute classes to engage in mathematical activities in a fun community setting. It was a positive experience for kids and volunteers alike. Topics included math and architecture, tetragamy, origami, data science for kids, and mathematics and music. We plan to build on these experiences with more community and school partners this coming academic year. And next month, in partnership with Math Happens Foundation, Lauren's here in the audience, some will present math concerts and songwriting workshops with music notes on September 17th and 18th. These events will be hosted by two popular Seattle venues that we are partnering with, the Pacific Science Center and the Museum of Flight. Music Notes combines hip-hop with their teaching experience to create high-energy songs, music videos, and concert experiences that promote various aspects of education, including math. Led by professional artists and former middle school teachers from Los Angeles, California, Music Notes blends education and fun for an unforgettable experience for students of all ages. Their concerts and songwriting workshops emphasize the importance of academic motivation, character development, and physical health. And we are very grateful to Lauren Siegel and the Math Happens Foundation for their generous support in making this possible. So funding is always the big question. We exceeded our fundraising goals from last year, and we were awarded a generous grant from the state of Washington to continue our efforts to empower youth with math by building a museum for hands-on learning in collaboration with community partners to increase equity-based educational opportunities. And with help from our fundraising team, we are seeking a variety of sources listed here for our next effort to raise $3.5 million for our near-term goals. And with the help of that state grant and other fundraising efforts, so far we have been able to hire the following team of consultants and contractors to work with us and build on our successful pilot programs and expand our operations. So the concept design consultant team created those renderings and a large document I'd be happy to share with you later that shows all of the topics that we're planning to cover within the museum. We have a fundraising consulting team helping write grants and reach out to corporate and other high wealth individuals to help assist with our funding. We have a marketing and administrative assistant, a new bookkeeper, a new development assistant, and the day before I left on this trip, I hired an educator and a program and volunteer coordinator. So we've been busy. So our current focus includes developing a Summobile, a mobile math classroom to take programs and mini exhibits to schools and other community spaces. We're also seeking to lease a temporary location with a classroom and exhibit space in South King County. That's the area south of Seattle that has a more diverse community where we see from test scores that the test scores are lower, and we want to make the biggest impact that we can. We'll be showcasing initial exhibit concepts and regular programming over the next 5 years in that space. All timelines, right, are estimates at this point. We have plans to hire more leadership staff in the new year to expand our offerings and to lead the SUM organization into the next phase. We're also working to identify and develop the site of SUM's permanent home, with the plan being to open the full museum within the next 5 years. In conclusion, SUM will transform attitudes about math. Informal, hands-on math experiences outside of the classroom make math relatable and, most importantly, create positive feelings about math. Once confidence is boosted and students see math as relevant to their futures, academic performance will improve. And I want to thank MoMath and Imaginary and IHP for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tracy. So for the questions, we will have to give you the micro because for the recording, we might not hear it very well if you don't have this. It's better to give you. So I will, once you raise your hand, I will give you
One short comment in the question. At the Matrix conference in Leeds, there was a very interesting talk by a guy from Texas who is doing a mobile math museum, who is using an old school bus.
Oh,
so
terrific.
maybe you could relate to him.
I need to get
and
connected.
So this was really great. And my other question is, what about, this is a more general question, but because you raised it, what about the gap between math is fun, which we are trying to do, and math is hard, which is the reality when learning it? And how do you see any possibilities of relating to this? I don't think that we can close the gap. Mathematics becomes more and more fun the more hard work you put in.
Yes.
But it can be fun also in the beginning. Anyhow, but there is a real gap there.
Yes.
And I see this as an important point, probably, I don't know, but...
It's a hugely important point. Thank you for bringing that up. And I was an educator for 5 years, and then I became a tutor, an educational consultant, and taught math teachers. And so I've thought a lot about this. What's important is to have this zone of proximal development, it's to use a teacher term, where for something to feel achievable, you need to know a little bit about it already and then reach a little bit more. But when we jump too far to the abstract, it gets overwhelming and people shut down and they think it's too hard and I can't do this, those kinds of talk. So what we're trying to do is bring people into the math fold by showing the fun side of it, the creative, the beautiful, the art, the music, all the, even the cultural aspects of math, to make it more approachable and have them have a positive math experience in a museum setting where there's the safety of not feeling like you're being quizzed. But what we find in school is that a lot of it is very dry and two-dimensional and black and white on a worksheet. We want to show full 3D color and show that it's fun. And that will spark a curiosity that can be brought into the classroom and tied together with some of the other aspects of it. And also admitting that math is hard, but that it's a worthwhile subject and that it's interesting. And by sparking that curiosity and making people want to learn more, they will see that, yes, it's hard, but if I keep trying, and making sure that we have a growth mindset, I can learn to do this if I try hard, and that it is a lot of work and engagement. It's kind of like, we have a software game developer on our board, and he talks about, in order to have fun with a game, there needs to be something that you're learning all the time. And learning can be really fun, and so can, after hard work, suddenly having that aha moment. That was my favorite sound as a teacher, was hearing a kid go, oh! And that's the best feeling, right? You're learning something, you've tried hard, you didn't get it, you thought it was maybe impossible, and you work some more and work some more, you talk with others, and you work in community, and you use your hands. And so making it playful and hands-on, so we need to work more in the concrete before we move to representational and abstract. Because too often, after kindergarten and the early years of learning, when we were doing so much concrete, we jumped to representational and abstract too quickly, and students lose interest because they haven't made the connections in their brain. If we can show more hands-on activities, or riding on a square-wheeled tricycle, for example, and feeling the math with your whole body. We're trying to think of exhibits and shop for exhibits that can give a full body experience and have people play and try. Think of doing puzzles with tangrams or folding origami. It's hard at first, but then you start to do more and you achieve something and you're encouraged. So that's our approach.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It was really interesting to hear about the museum and the plans. I was taken with your community partnerships, which seem great, particularly with Xenomath. What's their role in the museum? Like, I imagine they're excited about it opening, and are they contributing in terms of content development? Are you working with their community to get their thoughts and interests in as you develop your exhibits?
Yes, so we partnered on that Math Fest as one of the vendors that was hosting something, and we hope to do that more with them. We are focusing, as a museum, we've chosen 3rd to 8th grade, which is about 8 to 14 years old. But we want to be welcoming to all ages and have something for everyone. What we see as Xenomath's role is to bring, they have these kits that they offer to families and organizations that are for preschoolers, and they have them translated into 9 other languages. They really work with a lot of the immigrant communities to try to get parents to work with their kids at home before school and as part of their preschool and development. And so we're hoping to have some of their kits in our museum as an offering for the younger kids that come with their families. And so we'll be working with them more in the future on that.
So we have another question here.
Okay.
Thank you. Hi. I agree with the idea to take the experience near to people, creating a net of permanent exhibitions in the territory. But you talk about also a mobile math classroom. So is the classroom my problem? I think, are you going back or with the contents and guided activities linked to the curricula of the schools, or are you trying to make a different classroom in which you respect the opportunities and characteristics of no formal education?
A little bit of both. So we want to have it be more free-form and less structured in some ways than the classroom, but we also know that the teachers in the schools are going to want to know, how does this offering you have connect to my learning standards that I have to meet? And how can we blend that with our curriculum? And so as a former math teacher, I completely understand that. We want to be able to tie together what we're showing with what they're learning in the classroom. And so we plan to have kind of pre and post kits or activities so they can prime their students with vocabulary, for example. And then we can also do an activity with them and then have an extension of that for them to do further in the classroom. So building that bridge between the informal and formal education. And so when we say a mobile math classroom, it's not a formal classroom, but we'll have activities, the programming side of things, and plus we hope to have some mini exhibits that will be traveling in, like a suitcase style thing that we can carry and open up and have either in their classroom or right outside if it's good weather, which we sometimes get in Seattle, have it outside as well. So, and then depending on the size of the vehicle that we use, we may be able to do things inside the vehicle as well, but mostly it's to transport and be a traveling advertisement for us.
Thank you. When I was listening to you, I was just thinking about this exhibit that they had at San Francisco Airport. Did you see it?
I didn't see it, but about 3 or 4 people connected to sent me pictures, and I watched the video about it from Scott Kim. Yeah.
And then I was thinking that some of the stuff you're doing may be perfect for Seattle Airport. I mean, if you have these big blocks kids can play on, everyone has time to wait. They're doing stuff, so you could have quite a big reach if you take over the airport.
That's a great idea. I like that. The difference between what we're doing and what that exhibit was, that was an exhibit of behind glass. And I very much want to make our museum not a behind glass museum. I want people to touch things. Everything would be a plaything instead of having a bunch of, some people say a math museum, are you going to have calculators and slide rules behind glass? No. But I think that's a great idea, bringing some activities like that, because a lot of airports do have play spaces for children. So thank you. That's great.
Thank you very much for your super exciting talk. I think it's the main thing I take from your talk is that you see mathematics more as a community than a didactic thing and like working on a problem, understanding it. And I think it's very important for us, for me as a researcher. Sometimes we think like, oh, mathematics is just understanding a theorem, proving something, but actually there is so much of social interaction, which is also mathematics.
Yes.
And the people who are not in academia need to be more connected to this world. So thank you very much for, working actively on this idea.
Yeah, some of the things we say is that math is for everyone and math is everywhere, and we're bringing math to life. It's not this separate subject apart from life. We don't want people saying anymore that they're not a math person. Everyone's a math person. Everyone can do math. Everyone does math. They don't always realize they're doing it, but it's for everyone. So thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you for this. And I have maybe a practical question. So as far as I understand, you started in 2018? 19, so 3 years ago, and you have, I don't know how many people and there's millions of dollars and so much impact on the community. It's quite impressive.
We're hoping to have millions of dollars. We don't yet.
It's already something. Working in France, it's quite an impressive achievement. Hope. And I wanted to ask you how many people you were when you started, and what maybe were the main difficulties also to put this project in place.
Yes, so it started with me, dreaming about this for many years. I told lots of people about it, but in 2019 was when I established us as a nonprofit organization. And I invited one of my friends and colleagues. I had been a school board director, so I was a government official for a few years, from 2015 to 2019. And instead of running for re-election, I said, no, I want to do the Math Museum now. And I asked one of our colleagues that I had talked to about she got elected after me in the state senate. And so when I told her about the idea, she loved it and said, how can I help? And I said, will you be my first board member? And so she has been a fabulous board member, connecting us with many people through her network of colleagues around the state. And she was also very helpful in getting us that government grant. And that was $88,000. So it gave us a nice boost, and we're able to use it to pay for staff and materials and lots of things this year. From there, we hired some consultants that also helped us make more connections, and we made an active effort to bring on more board members. And within a few months, we had about 10 board members. And from there, we started doing our Lunch and Learn program, which is about an hour-long virtual presentation about what we're doing, and it's evolved over the last 2 years. And through that, we used it as a recruiting tool in the beginning for the board members, but now we use it, we get donors, volunteers, and all of our volunteers and staff are required to attend a Lunch and Learn. And I do them most of the time, but one of my other board members does one. She did one yesterday. We host these 2 or 3 times a month online, and anyone can register on our website and attend it. They're usually at lunchtime on the West Coast, so 12 noon. And we don't offer lunch because people are from all over, but you can lunch with us. And the day of the week changes because we have it on the 10th, 20th, and 30th of the month. And so that is a consistent thing that we've been doing. It's been a wonderful way to bring in more people. And through that, we've had over 50 volunteers working for us, either on our board. We have an advisory, so our board is now 11. We have an advisory board of 11, and we have about 8 committees that various people work on, either from one of the boards or just as individuals. Some people are on multiple committees. And then we have people coming to volunteer for events. So some people just do events, some do committees and events. And so, yeah, we've had over 50 people volunteering. And then we've hired consultants along the way to do various aspects in a professional way that some of us don't have experience in, like museum project planners and fundraising. So the fundraisers have been very helpful in getting us to where we are now, and will be getting us through this next phase.
We still have time for one more question, if there is one.
I was interested when you mentioned there was an activity for children with data science. I was just interested in what that was.
Yeah, so we used candy and gave them a bunch of colorful candies, and they created graphs, like sorting the candy into different colors and analyzing that data on a very basic level. So, and then they got to eat the candy.
Thank you very much, Tracy,
Thank you
for
so
your
much.
presentation, for answering all the questions. So now we will have an online talk from Can, Ozan, Oğuz. Can is very sorry, couldn't attend the conference because of passport issues. So he will give an online talk, and this is the moment to thank our audiovisual team, which is composed of Marco Perez, which is just there, who is just there. There is also Alexandre Duplessis and Cécile Zanotti, who are working hard to make this conference alive with online sessions, recording, micros and everything. So we can really give a warm thank to this free audiovisual team. Once it will be connected, Can will present us a new math cultural center in Istanbul.
Thank you very much to the organizers for this opportunity. Unfortunately, due to some passport issues, I wasn't able to come in person. And I really appreciate you putting in an effort to make this online talk available. So I'm going to be talking about the Mathematics Culture Center, but this is not a project which is in place right now. This is something we are aiming to create. And we are a group of mathematicians that I'm going to introduce now. And I'm going to be telling you about who we are, what do we do. We are just a 3 years old organization. And what we aim to do, which is to have this Mathematics Culture Center. So I want to take this opportunity to meet you and make some connections with the international community. And I am very sorry that I am not in Paris with you. Okay, so we are a group of math enthusiasts, like students, teachers, researchers, and our main goal is just to spread mathematics culture, which is not very visible and not easy to access in our country. We don't have a lot of associations working in mathematics. So on the left, you see our team. This is a picture from 2019, where we had our first mathematics festival. So we do all these events for free. Everyone working for us are just volunteers. And when we made a call for such a mathematics festival, the public free, suddenly 50 people showed up. So this is not all of the team, some of them were still working. And after that day, this was in May 2019, we decided to have some sort of an organization we called Matematiğin Peşinde, which means in the pursuit of mathematics. So we created it in order to continue our efforts. And this is our photo from this year's Mathematics Festival. So our team grew up by a lot, and we are a large community, more than 100 people. And here are what we have been doing so far. I'm going to do this chronologically. So we first started by organizing a summer school for high school students. So we just found 14 educators. We offer 7 different programs with 2 courses each, and these are all extracurricular topics. So it was free, and it was in Istanbul, but we didn't have any travel or accommodation support. And to our surprise, we were expecting about 100 students. We just got 500 applications. And it wasn't just from Istanbul, people were applying from all over the country. So this is when we first realized there is actually a lot of demand, like more than we can handle. And we kept organizing more and more events. So since a lot of people were interested from all over the country, we started some like online projects as well. I am sure many of you know this wonderful website, matematiğin.org. So its material was not available in Turkish, so we formed a team to translate it into Turkish. So here are some of the courses we translated. And then we started meeting with students more regularly, like almost every weekend. And we created a platform where students and researchers can meet, and they can design their own course. It can be a couple of weeks or a semester long. The topics are up to them to decide. We just give them space if it is going to be online. Like we just so using social media and other communication platforms. We just collect the information from who wants to participate, choose the students, make them meet with the instructors. And this has been very successful. A lot of people have offered many courses on different topics. So here are some more topics. They range from like high school mathematics to like undergraduate or graduate level courses. So these are all again done by volunteers. And then we started organizing some like public mathematics lectures. Here you see only four of them because we started just before the pandemic. We were trying to do this once every month. And the last one was in February 2020. And after that, due to COVID restrictions, all these events were not possible to do in person. But again, to our surprise, a lot of people were applying. We were just reaching out to experts in the field, asking them to give a free public talk. And the rooms were always full. So after the pandemic, we started to do more online presence. We started publishing a weekly mathematics bulletin. So in it we had like news from the globe, like activities that are taking place that week or next week. So there were biographies of mathematicians. I want to emphasize that we were trying to be like inclusive and diverse. So like the number of like women mathematicians, the percentage of Turkish mathematicians that are being presented. We were trying to balance that out. And so we were criticizing a book, a video, and a website every week. So this has been going on for 49 weeks. And we had a robust 1,000 followers who were reading every week. But then we had to stop due to lack of resources. This was last year. With the online education, a lot of us got very busy and couldn't keep the project. But now we transferred all these content to a website. Then we started writing a free online proof methods book. This is still in progress, not finished. But a lot of people are profiting from it, especially high school students are interested to learn these methods before they go to college. And then we started translating some popular mathematics books. So these are the first three we translated so far. Infinite Powers by Steven Spielberg, Humble Pie by Parker, and What's Got Math to Do with It by Joe Bowler, which is about mathematics education. Also, with the pandemic, we started an online YouTube channel. Then we started interviewing mathematicians on their research, on education. We started running some special programs for Women in Mathematics Days. We had some forums where a student, a researcher, like an educator, they all participated in an online forum. Recently in Turkey, we have we are having some problems with the Boğaziçi University. We had a Istanbul Mathematics Center there. Here ICMS stands for Istanbul Center for Mathematical Sciences. It was shut down by the university administration. We had a special program on that. And then, so this attracted a lot of attention. We got to meet many people who are working in similar areas. And we started to create an online database about what is happening in Turkey. Like what kind of blogs we have, YouTube channels, websites, communities, festivals, museums, etc. And finally, last year, we got the attention of some local authorities, and they started supporting our activities in a museum. It's called Gazhane Museum here in Kadıköy in Istanbul. So they started providing us materials, and we started meeting the public twice every week. We were running some workshops. So one for small ages from 9 to 14, and one for adults, high school and up. Then to our surprise again, a lot of people were showing. When we opened the applications, it was full instantly. Again, we were working with experts and on a really variety of topics. So this has been going on for 16 weeks. We stopped for the summer, but we are going to start again soon. And finally, this is our biggest event, Matematiğin Festival. This is how it all started, and this was our first chance after the COVID this year. So we organized another one. This was a 2-day event, and it's open to public, again free for ages 7 and up. But this time we had a lot more volunteers, and a lot of people showed up. So our main problem is finding some budget for those things. But we were able to provide a lot of different activity stands, so different associations, organizations, they had their booths. So we were running workshops in classrooms. Some publishers were invited to introduce the mathematics books, and their writers were signing of the books. We had 3 exhibits. One of them was the imaginary exhibit. You see another one on the top here, on the bottom here, but Mariam Yasekani. We had some movie screenings, playground for children. So this was a huge event for us. And again, there was a lot of demand. So right now, what we are working on is to find a permanent place. We are getting in contact with local authorities. We want a permanent location where we can meet with the public, with the students, invite mathematicians, researchers to run various events. So all these projects and what has been done in these projects, they are available on our website, which is down here, matematiğin.com. And this is what I want to say. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Can, and thank you very much for talking to us from Istanbul, from Turkey. It was very nice to have you instead that you were not able to come. It was nice to still have your talk. So now it's the turn of the audience to ask questions. I hope you will hear them quite well to be able to understand. Yeah. So I go to the question.
Hi, maybe you haven't been running this for long enough to answer the question, but I was just wondering if you have any statistics on how students persist in mathematics after having taken part in your workshops or activities. Do you have any sense of whether you have some impact in keeping kids in the pipeline?
Okay, so I can hear you just a little, and I think you're asking how the students perform after participating to our activities. Is that correct? Like how they perform in school, or how they persist in mathematics?
Do they persist? Yeah, do they persist? Do you have any data on that?
Yes. So I know some individual cases. We don't have the statistics for all the participants. But I said we started in 2019 by organizing a summer school with high school students. So people who want to spend 1 week during summer in where they're paying by themselves to learn mathematics, those are usually the ones interested in pursuing mathematics. So I know some of them that are still in college studying mathematics. Just this year, one of the students I was working with there got accepted to our undergraduate program. We are going to keep working with them. So these mathematics festivals, these are public events, so it is not, we don't have a way to track who is doing what. Some parents show up, some lawyers show up. I don't know, anybody can show up. But when we organize smaller workshops, like these ones at the museum, so to our surprise, a lot of mathematics teachers are showing up. They are looking for opportunities to improve themselves. And from personal experience, I know, if you ask a random Turkish person, like, do you know any mathematicians? Probably they will say no, or they will be talking about Cahit, who already passed away many years ago. So they don't know any living mathematicians, they don't know any Turkish mathematicians, they don't know that being a mathematician is an option, like being a researcher is a career option. These are not widely known. So this is what we want to disseminate in mathematics culture. If you go to a bookstore or ask for mathematics books, they don't have many, they just show you some books for preparation to university entrance exams. So we are trying to provide a different variety.
Hello, Karen.
And for these workshops, like, we have very persistent students. There is a student of age 9. He has been attending to all of our workshops every week. And he keeps asking, when are you going to start over after the summer? So we have some persistent students who want to continue. But our goal is to introduce what mathematics is. And if people find it interesting, so they know beforehand they can pursue such an option. And if they do not like what mathematics is like, they shouldn't be choosing mathematics. In our system in Turkey, before going to college, it is very difficult to know what mathematics is like.
Hello, Kan. Thank you very much for your talk. I'm speaking from France, and I work in France for 10 years, and before I was in Russia. First of all, I want to reassure you that in France, children don't know any mathematicians except by that Pythagoras and Thales. Some of them know Cédric Villani. That's my statistics. So this is a worldwide problem. Concerning more working on very, very low budget, what you tell makes me think about 2008, 2010, when I was in Russia, finishing my studies, and we were organizing very big events also for thousands of school students, and we were paid by a sandwich in the end of the day, and it was wonderful, and we had a very big community of people working for mathematics, but budget was not there. Then Dmitry Zimin, who founded Dynastia Foundation, did a lot for mathematics in Russia. And there were many funds, and many of my friends did PhD theses because of this, and many wonderful mathematics was done because of it. So it doesn't really solve your problem, right? But maybe my several questions are the following. So the first one is, how can international community help you to put this project in place? The second question is, how open is the city hall of Istanbul to giving you space? Because sometimes it's a question of local politics, so to say. And the third question is more of community. Are you related to village of Ali Nesin, which has a very big influence in Turkey in terms of mathematical popularization? Thank you very much.
Thank you, I thank you very much for the comments and the questions. I'm going to start with the last one. I am involved with the mathematics village. So you are talking about Nesin Mathematics Village. Since then, we had another mathematics village which opened in Eskişehir in Turkey. So those projects started when I was just starting my undergraduate, and I was spending my summers there. This is in 2007, I think. And it was a unique opportunity. It is still a unique opportunity in many ways. So a lot of Turkish students So one of our motivations was this actually. Like, Mathematics Village is a wonderful place. They run programs for high school students and university students and researchers. But they are not in a central location. It is a bit far away. And they have a limited space and limited funds. So whenever they run a program, the number of applications is tenfold. So we started asking ourselves, like, we live in a really large city, like more than 15 million people. There are many math departments, like many high school students, many university students, and we decided to help out actually. So I still go to the Mathematics Village every summer to meet, either to participate in some conferences or to give courses to undergraduates, or to meet with the international community. But we are trying to create something along the same lines here in Istanbul. So Ali Nesin did a great job, and he's showing that there is a lot of demand, and we need to supply more. Your second question was how open is the Istanbul City Hall? So this Gazhane Museum, it is owned and run by the Istanbul City Hall, and they are providing us a temporary space every week for now. And they are happy with how things are going. So they want to continue these projects. But we asked them to help us organize this mathematics festival this year at this location. At first they said yes, but then they canceled it. And this has many reasons. Some of them might be political, but we also have a big economic problem right now. So they are cutting budgets from these not well-known activities. So when I talk to people from the City Hall, they are like, first we want to see you doing persistently these activities. So if we just give you a space, we are not sure if it's going to be running smoothly. However, Istanbul is like smaller city. I don't know what they are called. Like, not a city hall, but I don't know, like smaller city halls. And recently this year, one of them opened a mathematics house, which has some permanent exhibits and where they want to run workshops. And we are working with them as well because they are not trained in mathematics. The director of that mathematics house is an anthropologist. So they are not experts in the field. Somehow we are having difficulty of.
Okay, thank you, Ken. So we have another question, and I think this will be the last before the lunch break.
Thank you very much for your presentation. My question is linked to the people who are coming, and it's a general question because there is a lot written, and not just written. It's the case that there is a lot of anxiety and hate towards mathematics because it is a compulsory subject in school. And do you think that having mathematics as a compulsory subject in school helps or hinders your activities? And putting it in a provocative way, are these, although there are so many people being interested in your activities, are these the remaining, I'm being provocative, nerds who are still inclined to mathematics? Or is it also people who say, okay, I don't like mathematics because I have bad experience in school, but when I come here, I see, okay, this is interesting and maybe I can change my mind and so on. So do you think that having mathematics as a compulsory subject in school helps or hinders your activities? And it's a question to all of us. Thank you.
So in Turkey, those compulsory mathematics courses, they are just based on calculations and computations. There is no understanding, no discussion, no presentation by students, no research, no proof, nothing related to the culture, just mechanical, technical methods. So this makes people think that mathematics is such a subject. And I think in a way it is helping us gain popularity because we are showing the other side of mathematics, which is not accessible anywhere else. But first, people need to hear this. First, they should start thinking, okay, maybe mathematics is a bit different, and let me try out these activities. So I think mostly we are reaching to students who are interested in mathematics and not satisfied with what they see at the school. But also when we work with adults. Sometimes, for example, we had a jewelry designer. She said, I didn't like mathematics at all, I don't understand it, but now I see that I need it a lot for my job, and I want to learn more. So sometimes it takes people years to realize mathematics is much wider than what they see in school, and they are looking for opportunities to improve themselves. So having a compulsory math course is not necessarily a good or bad thing, but it is about how you are running those courses. And the way we run it in Turkey, the courses are very dry. They are not scientific at all. We are trying to show that aspect.
Thank you very much, Can, and thank you again for giving your tour from Istanbul. So this was the last talk for the New Museum's Panorama session.